Companies these days be like, we won't make a game with attractive characters because that isn't safe. Then they have their devs go on social media to attack their fans, fill their game with propaganda nobody wants to hear, make their games deliberately ugly and call it realism, and launch buggy Unreal Engine asset flips like a couple drunk wombats made it over a weekend for only $100 million to release to an audience of 20 people on Steam, half using free journalist codes. I'm old enough to remember when a woman wearing jeans became the enemy of the country because, well, she wore jeans. That's the actual crime. She wore jeans. Remember that the next time any of these ghouls tell you somebody needs to lower the heat and temperature on debate, she wore jeans. Jeans. The legacy of Ghost of Tsushima is breathtaking. Cinematic graphics, of a minimalist UI and immersive storytelling, of simple to understand but hard to master battles ripped from a samurai movie, and of representing culture, history, and the geography of the region of Japan so well, they were named tourism ambassadors. Respect, care for the game they were making, love of video gaming, and authentic historical storytelling. And wanting to make a video game that gamers would enjoy, you know, all the stuff that most modern developers refuse to do. Ghost of Tsushima is a genuine triumph. And not in the mocking way we refer to Hollywood movies that take home 10 awards because more people voted for them at the Oscars than watched it over its entire theatrical run. The legacy of Ghost of Yotei will have nothing to do with the actual game itself. Nobody will remember a thing about it in a year or two. This is a game that is going to be solely remembered for the malice of the developers. I am more familiar with Middle-earth than I am the USA. 2 weeks ago I couldn't have told you what Charlie Kirk even does, thanks to video game developers flooding my feed in celebration though. Now I know he believed that he could talk to the other side in peaceful debates. They shot him for that. Game devs, come here for a moment, you ignorant morons. You work in the games industry as a developer, journalist, or influencer. Your entire job exists out of freedom of expression and speech. When your entire job is speech and expression, you should not be the one to celebrate and glorify the murder of someone whose entire job was speech or expression, just because you disagree with them. Because guess what? Everyone really disagrees with you too. When I see people in the games industry hoping someone follows up against his 1 and 3-year-old daughters next, at what point do these people realize maybe they've just gone a little too far? But hey, I recognize Charlie would have debated me even if I disagreed with him on 99% of topics. While games industry activists would cut out my tongue if I disagreed with them on one. This is a pattern of behavior, of unprofessionalism, and yes, it is unprofessional to celebrate and incite these actions. Ask yourself what would happen if you went up to your boss and threatened to end his life. Ghost of Yotei is 2 weeks away, and yet their developers decided this was the time to want their game's launch to be about developer activism. Activism, which can be fully summarized by, agree with us or we will end you. And while you cannot say no, not all devs are like this, strange that so many industry employees feel emboldened to repeat and like and support this, but there's no AAA developers out there who are calling these people out for this or taking the side of reason. So, do you all celebrate this? Or perhaps developers know they will be punished if they express sympathy in a situation where the slightest amount of morality would have any normal person act with minimal decorum? Do developers know that if they say you should not be killed for speech, they will be fired? Games industry, you look bad either way. That's why you have nowhere to turn right now. Even when we can come up with multiple explanations of your repugnant behavior, that doesn't matter if every single one of them is disgusting. The games industry is in for a reckoning. This is not a one-off, this is a pattern of behavior, this is systemic. They've completely destroyed the social contract between professionals, where a modicum of class meant you tipped your hat and agreed to disagree, because it makes you not look like a soulless monster. The Yotei situation is a repeat of what we got with Avowed, already unquestionable ground, only to, right before launch, have the directors go on an unhinged, lunatic, anti-gamer rant, gleefully raving about the audience hating the visual and character design, gloating they intentionally made those decisions hoping that their potential clients would hate it. This is not some reckless, impulsive lashing out. That's deliberate, calculated planning in the game design itself, in an industry that's already facing record layoffs, deliberately making their own games worse. Were we shunted into the Weasel timeline at some point? Why are all these corporations happily hiring and retaining activists who openly sabotage and work against the success of their company? Studios, you're at the deadline to realize after a decade of decline and failures, you have two choices. Hire developers who are dedicated to making great games that people want to play, or hire activists who are there to wish death upon your customers on social media. There is no overlap. If this was a Venn diagram, there would be a circle on one side and a triangle that identifies as a rhombus on the other. Gamers are tired of having to listen to these toxic stains on the games industry, gloating and inciting violence with impunity, and claiming it is their freedom of speech to threaten and harass gamers while demanding censorship against anyone who calls them out. How are you not looking at the mass layoffs, the huge budget flops, and not panicking? How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? How many studios must collapse? Because if you're going to continue to stand by this, the answer is going to be all of them. These activists consider their violent politics more important than the success of the games they make and their own careers. Their cult is incompatible with a healthy games industry. Studios, are you there to make money off games or lose money off social media nonsense? They do not want to debate, they want oppression and tyranny. They might cry about censorship or cancel culture today, but they created the structure and benefited from it for decades. I don't want you activists to be fired though. But you made the rules. You are the corrupt system. And even though I disagree with the rules of society, I will play by the rules of society. I've seen the fate of people who do not play by your rules. Because in every other industry, if you attack customers, make your workplace a hostile work environment, deliberately lose your company money, incite violence, and publicly damage the reputation of your corporation, you will be fired. But I am a reconciliatory angel, willing to look past your book of sins, and I will fight for you to all get your jobs back. There's just one thing I want you to do first. What you're going to do is you're going to unfire everyone you got rid of through cancel culture since 2010. Give them their jobs back, unblacklist them, unban them from social media, hire everyone who was passed over through discriminatory DEI practices you put into place, and back pay them for the years they lost due to your authoritarianism. That's the line. You struck first, you were given years to walk it back, you didn't. Until you fix what you have done and make amends, there is no discussion. Activists are tanking the industry, destroying decades worth of franchise building and earned customer loyalty worth hundreds of billions of dollars. Companies will still stand behind activists against gamers and against good games. Whether it is attacking fans, slandering fellow devs, envy over better games than they could ever make, like Ubisoft and Horizon developers going after Elden Ring, or how bitter losers are torching Silksong because they cannot make a better AAA game, with 1,000 times more resources, how the media whined over indie success not making their wallets fatter with their deprofessionalization nonsense. Developers and media who jumped in on the Hogwarts harassment campaign that viciously bullied multiple non-political content creators off the internet, consultant firms that happily declare how much they hate white men and how they gain power in the industry by threatening to ruin the lives of HR employees, Avowed, pulling a Ghosts of Yotei right before launch, The media gloating over Concord, Marathon, and Fair Games, angering the right people. Let's take a moment to educate you activists. You are the instigators. You got away with decades of cruelty untouched. And now you cry about a week of mild pushback. Your attempt to garner guilt and sympathy and play the freedom of speech card means nothing. You used your freedom of speech to demand everyone else lose theirs. Gamers hate you. This isn't about tolerance anymore. Gamers hate you. Because you deserve to be hated. Because you are evil people who preach violence, censorship, corporate tyranny. You ruined people's lives with your blacklists and malicious use of the HR department to force people out and replace them with your ideological buddies. The people you victimized and stole the voices from for years will always hate you. The irony is, you spent all this time promoting DEI, which stands for didn't earn it. Well, congratulations. Your reputation is completely earned. I support your freedom of speech because your speech is rotten. It helps everyone identify the stench. You were given a million opportunities to debate and discuss things in good faith. You took none of them. Patience is gone, and it is gone solely due to your own actions. Game devs, I celebrate your freedom of speech. Go, attack your customers. Belch your bile. 20, 30 years ago, not a single gamer knew a lick about their favorite studio's politics. Activists, thank you for educating us on your non-consensual insertion of politics, social justice, wokeness, and DEI into the games industry. Activists, you're gonna wish you hadn't. Take Me North took up north of an hour conference time. They purely spoke politics, showing seconds on the dollar worth of actual gameplay, which was probably just AI. Don't be surprised if that game never comes out and never existed. And gamers, now understand the pattern. Your writing style, your characters, your storytelling, your weird coding and phrasing. Gamers know now what you mean by modern audiences, diverse and inclusive, problematic. Gamers won't give chances to games with ugly characters, preachy dialogue, and developers that gleefully tank their game's reputation right before the game comes out. Shame you developers can't turn that genuine internal evil within into writing a decent villain. Is this why your protagonists aren't heroic and your villains are always self-inflicted victims? Activists trying to crawl to freedom of speech? Don't bother. You instilled cancel culture, injected systemic bigotry into corporate culture through DEI, celebrated censorship. If you don't like what you did, you get to dismantle it first. You took the shit on the floor, enjoy having your nose to it until you clean it up. Don't let them ever pretend it is just one bad apple. Not when half the staff gets caught liking what these parasites say, they are emboldened to say this specifically because their studio lets them. Your words are violence, and the silence of those who do not stand up to you is also violence. Do you feel educated? These studios have nothing in their baskets but bad apples, and they know it. Remember a few weeks ago when these women started calling a woman a WW2 German because she was wearing jeans? Let's not talk about cooling down the rhetoric when you're calling someone the N-word because she wore some jeans. The experiment failed. Activists are destroying your studios. They ruined it for the left-wing gamers, for right-wing gamers, and everyone in between. The layoffs are ruining it for the employees. The high budgets and failure to meet sales expectations are ruining it for shareholders. Activists have made the entire industry worse for everyone. And everyone knows the activists did it. Because activists decided to be really, really loud and obnoxious about it. You're going to wish you hadn't done that. Because you spent decades being so afraid, so terrified of the freedom of speech of everyone else. You never stopped to consider that your own speech has done way more damage to your causes than anyone else's. It is better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt. Like, comment, and subscribe. Stay civil. Nothing hurts them more than their violent, demonic hatred being met by calm, honest debate. They just proved that is their greatest fear. And to the activists crying about the dog they beat finally biting them, I apologize for absolutely nothing.